5, 6, 7, 8. It's a mess. Oh, it's a mess.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. It's a mess, sis. So what exactly is a mess? A mess is a situation or a state of affairs that is confused or full of difficulties.
The mess is when things don't go the way you plan. It is when you have to go off script, improvise, ad-lib, sit through the awkwardness, and breathe through the pain until you come out on the other side, because you will come out on the other side. It is everything that makes life interesting and transformative. It is what we are here to do. It is how we learn how to be.
So join us as we dive into this week's mess. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to It's a Mess, Sis, my favorite podcast. I am Jessica, and I am a mess. Now, usually here I tell you a little bit more about myself, but this isn't business as usual. We have guests today, and I am so very excited. We have some gentlemen from one of our favorite podcasts, the Minority Report. After a quick introduction from my co-host, we'll give these guys an opportunity to tell us more about themselves.
All right.
Hey.
That's what I was going to do.
Okay, my bad. Go ahead.
Hey, everyone. I'm going to keep it short because I really want you to talk to these guys or hear about these guys. My name is Rena. As you should already know, I'm your co-host, and I'm just out here living. I currently reside in the DMV. I'm a content producer, writer, feeler, thinker, all that jazz. I'm all about personal self-development, and I want this podcast to create a platform for that. So you want to take it away, take it back? You want to introduce our guys?
Yes. Okay. So these are the fellas from the Minority Report. What we're going to do is just let you guys introduce yourselves, your individual names, who you are, how you came to be. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, this is Kerel, aka Auntie Kerel, aka Auntie Vodka. All these AKAs, you know.
Period.
But yeah, Minority Report. We're a little over 2 years old. Dawon, JerrelI, and I have been friends for a while, so that's how it truly started. Got laid off from my job after a few years, more than a few years, over a decade, and was like, what can I do to do something for myself? Always wanted to do a podcast, but then I was like, okay, who my friend group would like hop on this journey with me? And then first one I thought of was Dawon, and then Dawon and I could get a little long-winded. So who's gonna break this shit up? Then I was like, Kerel. I was like, we need someone that's gonna be a little spitfire, you know? And
that's smart.
Literally. And so that's how it came to be. We just wanted to have a podcast to really show the spectrum of being a queer person of color in America nowadays, and to show that there is a spectrum of it, that it's not just a siloed thing, it's not a monolithic thing. Yes, we might be fabulous and over here, but on the other side, we might be in corporate America. We love Beyonce, we love sports, we love drag queens, we like wearing heels, we like wearing wigs, and all of it is part of us, and it's okay to be that. And so that's really what Minority Report is.
I love that.
Every Monday. So
I love that. Would you fellas like to say anything as far as introductions?
I mean, I don't have much more to say. This is Dawon, aka Auntie Dawon, aka Auntie Chardonnay. And, you know, I guess I couldn't agree with Kerel more. I think at the end of the day, what's really important to me, you know, and one of the reasons why doing this kind of podcast and even like your podcast, joining on your podcast today, is just showing the authenticity of my experience, you know, as a Black man, as a gay man, as a person that's, you know, had a certain lived in experience. You know, that's a space that I think we all have recognized is missing from the narratives that you hear out there. And I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to, you know, to hop on your podcast, because you're telling a really authentic and amazing story that your listeners are being able to take advantage of and learn from and help them grow. So I'm super excited for today's conversation. We had you already on our podcast. So hopefully, you know, your listeners had a chance to listen to that and got a taste of our flavor, but we literally could have gone all night long on that conversation.
Literally.
But, definitely looking forward to today's chat, and really excited to meet your listeners. So thanks for having us.
Yes, of course. And we'll leave the floor open for you. Would you like to just introduce yourself?
I'm JerrelI, aka Auntie JerrelI, aka Auntie Hennessy.
Period.
And I co-sign with my co-host said over here. Like for me, I'm the oldest of like 9 siblings, the oldest cousin in my family. So I didn't have like older like brothers or cousins to look up to. And the one that I did unfortunately committed suicide when I was like in the 9th grade. So I lost a lot of like Black male like leadership and mentors in my life. And then so when I got to meet these two like in my late 20s, mid 20s, it was just like, oh my God, like this sense of brotherhood just came over me. And I was like, I started finding parts of myself that I didn't know were in me because part of coming out is so white. And then you end up saying like, oh, I'm not just a gay man, I'm a Black gay man. There's a whole different side to that than just coming out and saying that I'm gay, you know?
I love that.
And so meeting these two helped me discover that part of myself and realize I'm not here for the foolery no more in life. That I learned when I'm coming out. So, you know, that's why I'm Auntie Hennessy now. That's why I'm the Spitfire, you know. The aunties that helped me, you know, discover myself and my voice. And I also got tired of talking to myself. So I was like, yeah.
I love that. Oh my goodness. That's really beautiful to hear. And I think we do need so many more mentorship like programs for Black queer youth, because you really said something there. There are so many out and proud, and I think we actually talked about this in one of our other episodes, maybe last year around Pride time, about how you have a lot of these, it gets better, you know, PSA type of things, but it's very white and you don't see yourself. So that's really beautiful. We love you guys' podcast and we are so grateful to have you on ours. So we're just gonna get into the flow of it. Our listeners know what the deal is. They know it's a mess. So if we're messy, they know it's a mess. That's the beauty of naming it. It's a mess, you know? So with that being said, we do have a segment called What's the Mess? And so I'm going to ask Rena, firstly, what's your mess?
Okay. So yesterday when I was thinking about my mess, I had a nice like cushy diatribe about coming upon new awarenesses for myself and getting a better understanding of myself and, you know, projecting internal experiences outwardly and how I have a solution within me and how I've been embracing my shadow work and all of that. And then I woke up this morning, because it's Juneteenth, to a whole different mess. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like my ancestors are with me. I feel like there's an energy, there's like an eye roll.
Yeah.
Like
that wasn't where I thought you were going with that. I was waiting for the sage.
No, not the eye roll. Not the eye roll.
And you know, I feel like, you know, that underground fan, like, you know, you have a band or an artist you like, and when you're underground, you're like, I ride for them, they go mainstream, and you just kind of drop it. That's kind of how I feel about Juneteenth. I'm like, I was riding for it, and then now it's commercialized. And I mean, we haven't fully seen it yet. And maybe I am, you know, panicking before time, but
you know it's coming.
Right.
Yeah.
We all know it's coming.
You just know.
Right. So I'm just kind of like, I'm feeling a little bit of a way. I'm like, how are they going to try to profit off of this? Because I've seen them do it with Pride. Like there's rainbow everything everywhere to the point where I'm like, I don't know who's gay anymore. Like you could be gay. You could be, or you could just have gotten that for free from work.
For free.
Right.
Or T-Mobile.
Or T-Mobile.
Right.
Or Comcast. You know, you got to like duck.
The white people about the Cinco de Mayo are Juneteenth is what's about to happen.
Exactly. Like Cinco de Mayo was.
And our
Comcast and T-Mobile,
Comcast
and T-Mobile, if y'all looking to sponsor, it's a mess.
Man, okay. Well, you know what?
Report. Come on now. I'll put that T-shirt on real quick.
It's gonna become a crop top, you know. The sleeves gonna be like, look, we about to
people represent.
Okay, look, this is gonna be more than a Hanes
look,
T-shirt.
We're talking generational. Look, you talking about the ancestors, Rena. I'm talking about generational wealth. How you doing?
You know what? I'm so glad I brought up this mess. Thank you all, because I really wanted some grace. I wanted a different perspective. I didn't just want to be like, oh, hell no, they're going to be taking Hennessy shots. You know? But I like this. I like where y'all taking it. I like this. Okay, my energy has been restored. Okay, I'm better.
Right, though. You're the other side of the coin, though. You can't forget that side of the coin, though.
It's true.
Right.
As soon as you see that person with cornrows in their hair, you're going to be like, Or Justin Bieber going to have them dreads again. The same
He has them. He already has them.
Like, I know, but he look, the internet bullies that cut him off. He cut him
Again?
off. Yeah, he cut him off. Yeah.
But he gonna bring them back. What's cool? Yeah. They're gonna be having collard green plates, hog mogs. Like,
Honey.
you do not eat this.
Chitlins.
Starbucks gonna have a 2-piece in the side.
See?
If I see a white person eating chicken today, I'm gonna slap it out their mouth.
Not
But why did I
slap
see a Pepsi
I'm gonna
commercial
slap. Don't
today,
do that.
and it was literally this white dude eating fried chicken. I was like, it's Juneteenth, and they just okay.
Fried it.
Pepsi.
Glad it's white though.
Yes. Yeah.
You said what?
It was a
Glad
white
it's-
man with it. Oh wait, did you say it's Dawon?
You said glad he was white?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, instead
Right.
of using us with cornbread and collard greens and watermelon. Come on now, cut it out.
Not today.
Well, that is a mess.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
a mess.
gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there. You're right. I'm gonna leave
Okay.
it there.
I mean, because it's a messy mess, and you are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But we're gonna hope and put into the atmosphere, into the energies, that maybe this can be just a day that is like a leaping pad. That maybe some actual real government change will happen now. Do y'all think that will actually happen?
I mean,
Is that
I
are we
know-
all
look,
putting that in the air?
I
Can we
know
get
I skipped
reparations?
history class a lot, but you know, the books ain't been lying. So I'm just saying, like,
You right. Well, sometimes they do lie. They call it slaves.
Absolutely lie.
They call the slaves, what they call them?
Indentured servants.
No, they call them
And
when
that
you
the owners gave them like places to stay and
right food.
Mm.
They call them like not explorers, but like foreigners or like
yeah.
I'm trying to think of what they call, but they didn't call them slaves. There's some history.
Hope they didn't call them expats.
That wasn't it, but damn near. That's hilarious. Not expats. I'm fucking weak. But it was similar. Similar. Like, come on now. Okay.
I just want to say one more thing. It's just because we got the white man eating chicken on Juneteenth, and I just don't want them to think, oh, like all is forgiven, it's okay, y'all got a holiday, so we're good now. Like that's the part that I'm concerned about. And then they're gonna start saying stuff like, "Oh yeah, they were expats," and then like everything's cool. We have Juneteenth, we good.
And here's what they don't realize about Juneteenth, though: that literally it was like 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So that's some bullshit in and of itself.
So not only you late, but you late.
Right.
Well,
And you capitalized on the fact we couldn't read because y'all would beat us when we did. I'm sorry.
Like we don't know no better now.
Right.
They dark and in the dark.
They like, well, you was free.
The layers of this conversation, I'm here for it.
What were you gonna say, Dawon?
Well, just to add fuel to the fire, the first Juneteenth wasn't until after they actually came to the state of Texas to declare that, oh yeah, by the way, slavery is over.
That's what I mean.
So it was 3 years after. 3 years after slavery was emancipated.
And then the whole state of Texas still wasn't free. They still had to go to other parts of Texas. Like, come on now, let's get all the way into it. Like, and so now you want to give us Juneteenth in 2021? Fuck out of here.
Right.
You know who I'm thankful for though?
Tell us.
Black Twitter.
Yeah.
Because
tell me why.
Black Twitter will not let it go. They will not take their foot off the gas when it comes to saying what needs to be said to these white people. They will. Look, our social justice gets stuff done.
That's true.
And you can't stop. You can't stop the conversation. Like I was sitting there thinking, like, I was feeling exactly like you, Rena. I was just like, oh damn, here we go. This is so performative, and it's like, that's great, and that's a nice gesture that like, everybody gets a day off, but like what. How does that really impact the things that are really important to us? And then as soon as that happened, you just see Black Twitter just going up. What about this? What about this? We've been asking for all these things, and not one of us, and I said one of us then asked for the day off for Juneteenth.
So didn't.
Mad people were off because I needed them. I wasn't off.
You're like, here, I want more pay, and they say, oh, how would you like, a magnifying glass?
Right. That's not what I asked.
With the other.
An anti-lynching bill. Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
No, stop.
We can still kill them, but we can do that while they're off work.
I want police reform. I want to defund the police. Oh no, we'll give you a day off. We'll give you.
At least make sure their cameras are on. Like,
I mean, the thing is, you're absolutely right. I'm grateful for Black Twitter also, because I feel like in the past it has been enough to get some acknowledgement. It's like, oh, we got the acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough. I'm not going to say I'm not grateful for them for the acknowledgement as well. I don't want to seem like bump Juneteenth, because I feel like it is appropriate for us to celebrate the fact that this was a very significant part of American history.
Yeah.
Right? So I do understand that, but bring the action. Bring the action.
We started that celebration for us. So now they've pretty much just colonized it. It was like, oh yeah, now it's a national federal holiday. Now everybody knows about it, and they're gonna make it seem like, oh, it was a U.S. thing. It's like, no, we've been doing this. We were already celebrating this.
It's not a U.S. thing.
But I think the key is to
14
make
people
sure that we don't drink their Kool-Aid, though. I think that's the key. Like, although they've given us
I never
holiday,
drink that Kool-Aid, no way.
First of all, ain't enough sugar up in there.
Ain't enough sugar.
First of all, you know, they probably using some organic, all grain.
Stevia.
Okay.
No,
look,
no.
Auntie Jarrell, it's La Croix.
La Croix. La Croix. Okay. I think that's the main thing, though, is we got to make sure that we don't change how we function on Juneteenth. That's because of the fact that they're acknowledging it. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm glad y'all catch up, but y'all caught up today, but I'm gonna still keep going. And I expect for y'all to keep going. Like, you caught up and now we need to keep going. So then it forces them, hopefully, to then catch up to where we go to next.
Right.
Okay.
And here's the crazy thing too. There's still 12, was it 12 or 14 people that didn't vote for the day to be a holiday? So that tells you how fucked up it still is.
Why?
That's all.
What was your reasoning?
Okay.
Right. Like, because my thing is, what was your reasoning for the no?
Because they didn't want to call like Independence Day. They thought people were going to get confused between July 4th and June 9th. Oh, we ain't stupid.
We are
not stupid.
That's why we need to fund education, because why would we be confused?
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like y'all wrote the textbooks, so y'all confused. We ain't confused.
That's code for just they voted it down because they white. That's all.
Period.
Thank you.
That's it. That's
critical race theory, anyone?
We be knowing.
Your mess up got us all fired up, girl.
The other benefit I see of Juneteenth being a federal holiday is that if you think about like the holidays, and you think about like, okay, well, we have, you know, February is Black History Month, right? And so it's basically all we talk about is Sojourner Truth and, you know, and
Harriet
Tubman, right? Like the usual suspects, right? And I think that's great and that's wonderful. I think the benefit of this is that we now have another holiday that centers around Blackness, because you can't mistake Juneteenth for anything else but a bit about being Blackness. Right. And I think hopefully what will happen is year after year, it'll spur documentaries and telling of our Black stories, podcasts and whatnot centered around the Black experience in the month of June, to also capitalize on, you know, the not capitalize, but also to reinforce, you know, the intersectionality between Blackness and queerness. So I think there's some benefits down the line.
White
that
gay crying somewhere in the corner right now.
Single tear foul.
And welcome to the club, boo, because we've been
crying.
Right.
We've been crying. That's why when I see white tears, I feel it. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not mentally ill, because I really don't be feeling it. Because I be like, cry me a river, baby. Oh, well. Because we've been crying. We've been crying. Like, I can't even watch. I saw somebody say we can't even watch a documentary about the justice system. Like, I couldn't watch When They See Us. I still haven't seen it, and I won't watch it.
That's tough.
I will not watch it. I can't. I don't have it. I don't have it in me to give. So there's so many tears that have been shed already. And I just, the child cry.
I'm with you.
Maybe when you catch up, you will feel what I'm feeling.
Go for it. Look, when we got Juneteenth, all I could think about is that scene when they're like, "You want your cornbread?" To the white guy, like, "You want your pride money? You want your cornbread?"
I can't.
Oh my goodness.
I
can't. This was a lovely mess. I do want to say we do have room for anybody else. If anybody else has anything that's been going on this week that they'd like to share,
I have one
feel
mess.
free to tell us. Tell us. We would love to hear.
I have a mess that is literally my closet right now that I continue to say I'm going to clean up every weekend. But said I was going to do it this weekend. Didn't feel like editing the podcast last night, so I was like doing it today. Don't look like this closet's going to get cleaned up again.
Oh, Pride Month, you got to clean up the closet.
I know. So that closet's going to stay right there how it's looking. Probably for another week at least.
Do you have, you got aspirations for next week?
We'll see. I need to, because like I like to at least once a year just kind of go through shit I haven't worn, especially this year with COVID. Like there's a lot of stuff I just haven't worn. I've lost some weight in the last year, so I'm like, okay, I don't need to,
She can look.
And so just like get rid of some of these bigger sizes so I don't get tempted to go bigger again.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But
that is a mess.
It's a mess.
But I will say, give yourself grace.
Thank you, boo.
This is a grace and gratitude podcast. Let me tell you, give yourself grace, baby, because it's gonna come. You're gonna do it.
I'm gonna do
right?
it.
And you've been doing other stuff. It's not like you just said, I'm not doing anything. Right. You did the podcast. Like we're busy. We're busy beings. And I think a lot of things that we've had to like I said on you guys' podcast, rest is something that I am coming to value. So if that is what you're using your time for, do it with ease.
Amen.
You know, do it with ease. And when it's time to clean out the closet, do it with gratitude that you have the energy now. Okay, cool.
And don't that bitch.
Okay, right? Does not bring me joy. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely, I understand though, because that kind of brings me to my mess. And I feel like I'm trying to like outrun myself. I feel like I have been fascinated with like the big picture of all these ideas that I have of who I want to be. And like oftentimes like the small details of things like the cleaning out the closet or whatever, those tasks seem really overwhelming.
Yes.
Like I see who I want to be. I see who I am. I'm this whatever big picture thing. I'm like, I'm acting, I'm writing, I'm singing, I'm dancing, I'm doing all this stuff. My podcast is doing really well. We're traveling the country, dicking shit down for people. Like I see it all. I see it all. I see it all. But those details to get there seem overwhelming sometimes. Like this week was like I had to sit with myself this week and I had to not beat up on myself. This is why I'm offering you grace, because I'm offering myself grace. I'm saying, okay, I understand that this is the big picture. Yeah. But today, the small step is to rest. But on today, I'm about to take a nap.
That part.
I'm about to take a rusty rest, you know, and not feeling like that's not enough, and not feeling like that's not the same as me doing the podcast or editing or cleaning up the closet or whatever it is. Like whatever steps I'm taking today, those are going to be built upon for the big picture. So that's my mess this week. Yeah, that's my mess this week. I mean, it's easy to get into this place where you beat up on yourself for not getting things done. But we're not made to only be production tools and production workers. Like this isn't an assembly line. Like we're here to just experience it all. And like, you know, if today is not the closet day, not the closet week, it ain't the closet week.
It sure don't look like it.
My word. Oh my word. Okay. Did either of you have mess that you wanted to share? Or shall we move on to why we did this topic?
I feel like we got to go in.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go in.
I'm pumped. I'm ready.
Okay. Rena, do you want to tell them why you chose this topic or why we chose it? I think this was a collaboration.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's kind of a spinoff of an earlier episode, which was, are you Black or woman first? That was the episode, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, with you guys here, it being Pride Month, it being Juneteenth, and us being Black and gay, I'm like, I just want to open it up and just see what people think. I know what I think, but I just want to open the floor to see what other people think. And like, as you can tell from my mess, I really want to receive some grace and like, you know, just some retooling.
Yeah.
So this is part of my self-development. You know, I would have an optimistic view of things. So I just felt like this would be a really fitting topic, and it would be fun, and it would be educational, and just everything. What about you guys?
Okay. So again, it is Juneteenth. This is the day when all of the slaves, or most of them, finally knew that they were free. It also happens to be Pride Month, which doubles the celebration for us queers, Black queers anyway. And so we thought it would be a fitting topic to dive a little deeper into what makes us who we are and all of that kind of jazz. So we are excited to have you guys join us for this. What we're gonna do now is tell the people how this is gonna go. Rena, let the people know what's the agenda.
As always, the agenda is to dick it down, which stands for define, impact, and cope. So this episode, we will explore and define what it means to be Black and gay, and then choose if we feel like our Blackness or our gayness has had more of an impact on our lives. Then we discuss the impact or the why for our choice to put Black or gay first. And then lastly, we discuss how we cope with our understanding and our experiences, feelings of all of the above, and how we would like to proceed going further. We make each section clearly known, so feel free to pause throughout the sections to give yourself time to answer. If you want to, you can jot down your answers. Just do what feels right for you.
Lovely. That was the agenda. And so now we are to the definition. So being that we have guests, we would like you guys to, either anyone, not all at once. We would just like to know what is your definition, period. Okay, Destiny's Children. Oh no, that was Charlie's Angels. That was Charlie's Angels.
Say, wow. Well, you know what? I like Destiny's Children. Yeah, keep that. Keep that.
You're right.
I try. Okay, I just want one of you guys to tell me what your definition of Black is, and then another of you guys to tell me what your definition of gay is. So if anybody has something, yes. If not, one of us will go first. Let us know if
I'll let someone else go first because I feel like my answers would get me canceled. So
oh damn. I really want to hear it.
Okay.
Right. Me too. Okay, so I'll go first. And then we really need to hear this. If it's horrible, we'll cut it out. We don't want you canceled, but I really do want to know. I really want to know too. Okay. So for me, the definition of Black is the complete absorption of light, right? That's a literal definition. That's like in the Googles
Webster.
And all the stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In other words, we are light beings. Like Black people are light beings. We embody what it means to be light, which I think explains our sense of joy, even during some of the most inane or traumatic treatment. I feel like like you said, Black Twitter has kept us, for me, I know, Black Twitter has kept me light during the pandemic, kept me laughing and inspired and all those things. Now, my definition of gay is anything not straight. I don't know. I don't know. My definition of gay is not as in depth. And I think that will not surprise anyone that I put Black first. So I think Black for me is a badge of honor. And being Black for me always kind of symbolized being cool and resilient. And while I had to eventually come to terms with how I fit into the Black experience because I was not always cool. I was quite weird. It's something that I wanted to be a part of. It's always something that I aspired to be a part of and that I felt was my birthright, right? But being gay was not seen as cool in my circles until more recently because I changed circles.
That part.
And therefore, I think it's taken me a long while to kind of settle into my identity in that community. So those are my definitions. And what I choose first is being Black. And so if somebody else wants to go, we'll let one of you guys go or we'll let Rita go.
I can go.
Ready? Are you?
Yeah. If that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
The way that I think about being Black and being gay, I think of being Black as being more experiential. You experience Blackness, it's the culture, it's the norms, it's the traditions, it's the comedy, the use of humor, the way we cut each other down, the trauma, like it's experiential. And it's also the experience of being melanated, right? Because it's visible, right?
Yeah.
I love what you said about wearing it as a badge of honor, because I mean, the reality of it is most Black people, not all, but most Black people look like Black people. They got melanin, so I feel that it's more experiential in that, and you experience through the culture of Blackness, right? And it's very different. Like, I think when you think of people who are Black from the United States versus people who are of African descent that live elsewhere, because we are in the United States a special kind of Blackness, right? And it's rooted in our experience. And then I think of my gayness, or I think of gayness as almost navigational, right?
Mm.
It's how you move through the world, right? And
Where you moving, Dawon? Where you moving?
I mean,
Moving on up, moving on up.
what you navigating, Dawon?
flipping and flattening. You know, I mean, depends on where the wind is blowing.
I know that's right, boo.
But honestly, like it is for me. It's navigational. It is. It's not necessarily how I define myself, but it's how I'm navigating through the world, right? It's who I'm attracted to. It's who I want to spend time with. And it's not binary, right? I think the definition, at least for me anyways, of gay, I kind of use gay and queer synonymously.
Yeah.
Because I think of it as all encompassing and not singularly focused on, oh, if you're gay, that means you're a man, right? Or, you know, etc. It's really just about that expression of being attracted to not just the same thing or not just to the opposite thing. And that forces you to move differently. I know it did for me. I know what, you know, what you were saying, you know, just about, you know, like the being awkward and kind of growing into your own queerness. I feel that it's a path. And it's a path that a lot of us, unfortunately and fortunately, depending on how you look at it, it's a path that a lot of us have to walk. Whereas I feel like your blackness, you just are. You experience it, you're already there. You do, there is some navigation that has to happen, obviously, because there's trauma and things that are associated with blackness, particularly in the United States, that you have to navigate through, but you can't escape it. You have no choice but to navigate through it. Whereas I feel like, you know, the queerness piece is something that I opt in. I opt in for the journey to accept, to acknowledge, to embrace, to express, to invite others, and all of that, right?
I love that.
That's interesting because, like, when you guys initially sent this question, like, it's almost like what came first, the chicken or the egg, like the black and gayness. Yeah. I tried to think, like, my initial gut reaction was like, my black probably comes first. But then I was just thinking, I was like, okay, if there was a blind person and they heard Kerel talk, do they hear me as black first or do they hear me as gay first? Like, what is my vernacular and my just like whatever I'm saying in the conversation, where is that pointing me towards? Like, would they be able to figure it out without knowing and seeing me that I am black? And that's kind of like tripped me up. And I don't know my answer because I would say early on, you would probably definitely, I would assume black, but then even growing up in a predominantly white area, you always told, oh, you don't talk black, you don't do this, you don't sound. And so like, it's always, a lot of times in our culture, this thing is like, you have to be and sound and do a certain thing. And that's black. And it's just like, what is it? And that's the spectrum part. So like, I always, like the last few days was like, okay, if literally no one knew who Kerel was and they were blind, would they peg that I was black first or would they peg that I was gay first? And I don't know the answer because I'm sure like sometimes on the podcast, I mean,
your name gives it away.
That part. That part.
You
right on that. You absolutely right on that. But I almost feel at this point in my life, luckily, it is so intertwined of who I am. And I think for the longest, it wasn't. Like, I was always fighting. Like, I knew I was black. I was like, raised in the white community, but then like in an all black church, and my parents were black, and then, you know, and so it's like, it was always this duality, but I knew I couldn't be gay, even though I knew I was. But now that I'm older and okay with myself and out and everything like that, there's this intertwinedness of it that I don't want it separated. I don't want it mutually like exclusive of one another. Because I worked so hard for it to be together, if that makes sense.
I think for me, it depends on who I'm around. You know, like, because when I'm around my people, I'm gay because they already because the playing field is level because they black, I'm black, so we good. We already have that understanding. So for there, it's all about explaining to them how I identify as gay and who I am as a gay black man. Whereas when I am in a more queer setting or a more white setting, I am black first because they need to understand that that is also part of who I am that they don't understand. You know, so it really depends on who I'm around, which one I am first. It's whatever I need to make sure that they are taught and understand and aware before they get these hands. You know, for me, it's about drawing that line in the sand. But like, don't cross it.
No.
And if you cross
let's
it, you're gonna cross
clarify.
it fast by doing this.
Okay.
Let's clarify. For JerrelI, it's about the lines before you get them hands. That's what.
Okay.
Like, who do I have
Right.
to fight first?
Right, right.
And for what?
I'm explaining to you. You getting your free chance while I'm explaining it to you.
Right.
This is your free trial, okay? Like, your 30 days is up after
You're about
this
to get charged in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
After this conversation, your 30 days is up after this conversation.
Right.
I'm weak.
Right.
I'm weak. That's a very interesting. There's so many. You guys have varying points of view. Like, I love
Right.
that. Rena, okay, let's hear yours. And then I kind of want to like dive in to maybe the impact of all of this.
Okay. I appreciate
Okay.
like all of the perspectives for one, because I feel like everybody had like a different, like the way I approached it was to put one first was more like the one that shaped who I was, you know, like with the one that resonated with me and like who I am. So let me backtrack. Let me take a few steps back. I have generic definitions. Black, I didn't take it as like the color. I'm thinking the people. So I just said being of African descent. Gay, preferring same-sex partners. Like just dry.
You said, I'm gonna cut through all this.
Right. So the one I put first, you know, like I said, is the one that has the most significance for me in my life, good or bad. And I chose Black first. I did. It was a slight struggle. And then I started kind of thinking about like my Blackness and the fact that, like, I believe Dawon said, like, I can't take that off. That's just, and I'm gonna get more into it in the impact, but that right there, Black first.
Okay. So we have Black first. We have, depending on who I'm talking to,
Who you're around.
and then
Yeah.
we have intertwined. And Dawon, you said Black
Black
first
first.
because it's seen, right?
Yeah,
It's
an
seen.
experience.
And I definitely understand that. I think that, and we're gonna kind of like dive into the impact now. And I think the impact of me being Black first is that it's like firm in my identity. And again, I think it's like you were saying, because it can be seen. And I think also too, it's because I found that community very early. That was an easy community to find and be a part of. My family's Black, like you said, your church is Black. Some parts of my school were Black. All of our family friends were Black. The people that understood how I'm talking in my slang were Black. Like, it was just all very Black. And then being queer and having to wrestle through being in a church that's telling me that I am literally an abomination, having to wrestle through that understanding of saying like, okay, I don't want this. This is not an identity that I want. I'm trying to take it off. I'm trying to pray it away. I'm trying to do everything to not be this thing. So then to come to sit with it, when I do, then there's nobody else that looks like me.
That part.
So that makes it very uncomfortable to sit with it again. So I think the impact is that being Black was just felt natural, because that's just who I am, and that there was safety there and there was love there. I mean, being Black was like so fun. I don't know. I love being Black.
It is fun being
It's
Black.
fun as fuck.
It
It's
is.
fun as
It's
fuck. Like,
It's hard as hell.
But it's hard
It's
as hell.
hard,
Exactly.
but
Right.
it's fun. Like,
Yeah.
if
Peaks
people
and
left us
valleys.
the fuck alone, like, it's so lit. We
It'll be
have
lit.
so,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
So
saying?
I just
It's
back up and enjoy the show, right? Like, I don't
right,
understand.
like, let us be. We're funny. We're interesting. We're, like you said, we
Yeah.
have the jokes for days. Like, it's just, we can cook. Like, there's so much about our
Yeah.
culture that I love. And so it was so easy to sit with it and just feel like, yeah, this is the shit. And so the impact is that I sat with that and I feel that naturally. And the impact of gay being something that I was uncomfortable with for a long time is that I'm still, like we were talking about in the last episode about our labels, is that my label is still kind of not affixed permanently. Like, I know that I'm gay or queer, or I know I'm something that's not straight, but it's not as rooted as being Black.
Yeah.
I know that I'm the thing, but there's still so much work and healing, I think, around it, that the impact is that Black is just always first. That just feels like me, you know? So I don't know. Anybody else want to say what the impact of, you know, maybe being combined or having to choose which is first?
Yeah, for me, I mean, like, it's the impact of why I said, the reason why I said what I said was like, you know, I struggled being Black as a young kid because I always knew I was gay at such a young age that from a young age I was already being told, stop being sissy, stop being funny, you know, like you know, boys don't do that, you know. So I was already from a young age being told, that what I am is not okay. You know, that I'm not being what a Black boy should be.
Okay.
You know, so for there, that's why when I'm around Black folks, I stand in my firmness and my gayness because from a young age, I was told that I wasn't okay. Like your story about being in the church and being an abomination and stuff like that, you know, like, so that's why I stand firmness in my gayness. And that's why it comes first when I'm around my people, you know, but
like
you know,
like that kid in the internet that's going viral right
now. Yeah.
Like it's
you know,
still out there.
It really is, you know, but I totally understand though, like, what you and Dawon were saying about like you always are your Blackness, you know, because I realized that, you know, that's one thing that make moments like this, you know, how we're talking about, oh, look at this melanin screen and it looks good, like, because at the same time we're taking it off and we're just being able to just exist, you know, and so like I definitely understand that in the same sense, but because of how, you know, growing up being a gay Black man, you know, a boy, and being told I was too feminine and all the rest of the stuff, it really sucked for me. And then that was why when I became adult, I just jumped into like, well, what's the gay community got to show me? And then then I found out, I was like, oh, there's a lot of white stuff in this. A lot, you know, and then you realize like, oh, well, I don't exist here either. So where do I belong? Like you start really questioning your whole existence. And I got tired of questioning, you know, why am I here? Why was I born this way? Why, you know, did God make me this way? And so like, why are they the way that they are? And it's because they need, and in my opinion, they need someone to teach them. They need to be told and taught with these that they need to get it together.
With the fisticuffs.
Look, they need to be gathered. Okay.
Gather them. I think that's a really beautiful perspective. I think now it's a gathering. No, it's so nice to have the perspective of a gay Black man because I didn't even think about it that way. You know, even now I don't necessarily present. I have my little haircut, so that's kind of helping. But it's before, thank you. I love it. I had the afro or whatever, and I didn't present as queer at all. Nobody really. I would have to really reiterate. So I think that's a really dope perspective or dope understanding for you to share with us, because I didn't even think about that, you know.
That's interesting too about the presentation as well. I find the older I've gotten, the more I'm comfortable presenting as queer or gay or whatever it is, because, and probably the more comfortable I've even been able to be my full Black self too. Like, because like luckily, like I will say, despite like the hardships of being able to be out and things like that, luckily the Black community I was in, I saw a full spectrum of what it looks like to be successful as a Black person and maybe what it looks like not to be successful as a Black person, things like that. Luckily, I saw a pretty full spectrum of the Black experience, except the gay part. And so that was always the hard thing for me because, like, again, you didn't see it on TV. And if you saw it on TV, you saw like a RuPaul. I'll never forget the first time I even knew of a RuPaul. Like it was, and it was like the Supermodel song was out and she was all over TV. And I remember asking my parents, and I called her a she, like not fully knowing. And I remember, I can't remember if it was my mom or dad, but one of them just said, oh, well, never mind. You won't get it kind of thing. And I don't know why that stuck out to me.
Yeah.
Because like the universe and the energies were calling like, yes, queen, you better fucking work.
Like, superpower, we see each other.
Exactly. Exactly.
But it's just like, even those small moments like that reinforce, okay, I know something's a little different about me, but I'm hearing that I can't be that. I can't look like that. I can't talk like that. Yet I'm seeing every other aspect of life. You could be this, you could be successful, you could be smart, you could do this, you know, which was awesome. But this whole queerness thing, and so the older I've gotten, the presentation of what a queer gay Black man could be, I've kind of, I don't know if it's purposely and trying to overcompensate sometimes, but it was just something that I didn't have for so long that I'm like, I want to wear them short ass shorts. I want to wear a crop top. I want to wear this nasty pig hat because I couldn't show that piece of me for so long, you know, and you're telling me I could be successful as a Black person, but there's the queer Black person here. And you need to know that I could be successful just as much as you tell me as a Black person, I could be just as successful as a queer Black person. So it's just weird, this presentation, because I'm like, come on, as a Black person, our culture is lit, like the way we dress, the way everything. But it's still hard, even the fluidity of it. Like you might see someone like a Miss Lawrence, where you know she's gonna be rocking the blouses and everything like that, with the beat face. And it's still hard for our community specifically to fully embrace it, even though they beat in your face.
Right.
For the gods. It's still weird to me that we have this perception of what it can be. So like whenever people find out I'm gay, because sometimes I might not present quote unquote what you think it's supposed to look like, I try to ensure that they know I like the spectrum. If right, wrong, and indifferent is not my lane to probably over preach it, but I just want our community to be just more embracing of it all. Because we could be just as successful with this siloed piece of our lives.
Okay.
It's a lot.
No. I have other things, but I want everybody to go before I like dive into questions and stuff. So I think Dawon, we can hear your impact if you have that, and also Rena.
You know, I've been mulling this over for a little bit, and I think there are two notions that come up for me. One is about dependence, and the other is about independence. The dependence for me was I ran from being Black, and I ran from being gay. So like Jerrel, you know what you were saying, you know, in terms of like, you know, like being part of the Black community and can't express yourself in that way, you know, like there are points in my life where just because, and I'm probably the oldest person that's on this call, so I grew up in a different era, you know, but there was an innate need within me to assimilate. I've always felt like, you know, I wanted to be part of, you know, whatever, and it's when I say I ran from my Blackness, there were parts of me that just, you know, like there was like that hatred, you know, that self-hatred that a lot of us feel, you know, that it didn't manifest in how I treated other people, but it would really like hurt me from within. And I was trying to pinpoint, and I still haven't pinpointed exactly when it happened, but I kind of feel like I came into really appreciating my own Blackness, you know, through like A Different World, you know, like that TV show where they showed like, you know, like this really interesting spectrum of Black people that were in this community of higher learning and dealing with things. And you saw, you know, like Cree Summer, who was like the flower child, and you saw, you know, like Whitley, who was like this bougie chick, and then you saw everyone in between, which was just really the first time that I got to see a different kind of spectrum other than like my own family and my own neighborhood. And it was around that time that I really started double downing on my own Blackness and really starting to embrace it as a point of pride, as opposed to a place of comparison to like whiteness, you know? So there's that piece. And that didn't get fully realized until like my late 20s. So I was, you know, in my early teens when that was happening, but I started to really embrace my Blackness then. And then just being gay, I had been running from being gay since I was 3, you know.
She's a run single track star.
Jackie Joyner Kersey, come on, one leg and the long fingernails.
All the nails.
Lord, when I saw her at the Olympics,
honey, her and Gail Deaver. Deaver, and what was Gail Devers was the other one.
Oh wow.
So. But like I ran from both of those, and I remember the moment where I firmly believe in the power of the spoken word. Like when you say something out loud, you speak it into existence. And the first time that came true, I saw the power of that was when I stood in my childhood bedroom in front of my dresser mirror combo that we all had back then.
Right.
That's a real ass statement.
The black one trimmed in gold.
Oh Lord.
No, not the black lacquer.
It
No.
was heavy as hell.
Right. I stood in front of that. I had my door closed. I made sure nobody was home because I convinced myself that I need to say the words "I am gay" out loud.
Wow.
And that was so powerful for me. And even though I didn't truly come out until years later, just that acknowledgement was the first stepping stone for my own acceptance. And I think at that point, although I didn't grow up with a overtly religious family, I had my grandmother was really religious, and we spent a lot of time with her. But my mom and my dad, they didn't force us to go to church and all that kind of stuff, although we did, and
Lucky.
occasionally and whatnot. I mean, it's balance, right? I share that to say that it wasn't until that moment that I started to realize that if I am going to live my life authentically, meaning as a Black person and as a gay person, my path through that was independence. So I had to be independent of my parents. I had to be, because at that point, this was 1994. This is 1993. Like I was a senior in high school in 1994.
Okay.
So y'all can do the math. I'm 45.
I started calculating. I was like,
I'll be 45 in a month. And
you look good.
So, dude.
Period.
You really do.
Really, every time you post all your stories, I'm like, man, he is so handsome.
He been serving that face.
And I can check it out the shoes. It's the style for me.
But I think everybody has their own path through their acceptance of themselves, whether it's their sexuality, their heritage, their upbringing, the trials and tribulations they've gone through, failed relationships, whatever, you have that. And for me, my choice for how I was going to work through that is I had to basically say, if I'm going to do this, I need to be ready to support myself. Because at that point, even now you have people that are disowning their kids, but back then, you're talking about the height of the AIDS epidemic, and it was not you were not allowed to be even gay at work, so you could be fired for being gay. And even the notion that if you had even if you got an HIV test back then, you had to get an HIV test anonymously. Otherwise, if you didn't and you got it through your insurance company would drop you on the precipice that you might then need additional support down the line. So they would drop your ass. So it was a whole different kind of world. So in my mind, as a 16, 17 year old preparing to go to college, preparing to go away for college, my choice was independence. And so the impact, as I think about Blackness and queerness, was I chose to say, you know what? I have to be ready to support myself and be my own person, devoid of any other relationship that I've ever known, and be prepared for my family and friends and whomever to just say, I'm not want to deal with you. And I needed to be prepared for that. And fortunately enough, my family and a vast majority of my friends really rallied behind me, but I still operate through independence. I'm a very independent individual, but again, that was my path. That was the impact for me. I had to lean and double down on, being ready to just cut everybody off. In order for me to be myself.
Wow. That's a huge impact. I feel like I hear that a lot though. Even my own story kind of came, I was like, I'm going to wait till I go to college to tell my mama, because you can't kick me out of college. I'm paying. I'm paying, and I'm there, and I know if you kick me out, I got somewhere to go. And my mom was my best friend, so I had no indication that she would. But you're absolutely right. I was like, okay, this could be a thing. She could really surprise you. You never know, So that's really wow. Okay, wait. Who haven't we heard from? Rena.
Rena.
Okay.
Oh, just me. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I resonated with so many different pieces of what you all said. And I feel like the impact, I'm Black first because I don't have any control over it. That's kind of been the impact of it. That's my representation to the world. People feel like they know me or know things about me, know who I'm going to be automatically just because of the way I look. With gayness, I mean, if I were to have a more feminine presentation, then I could kind of, just skate by. People would have to literally catch me in the act, or I would have to tell them. But kind of mulling over everything that everybody said, I think the impact, another impact for me of being both Black and gay, because I feel like that's like the discussion now. I ran from my Blackness towards my gayness, because I thought I would have more acceptance there. So I grew up overseas. So I kind of had like a disconnect from the Black community for a minute. Like I left the country when I was 9, and then I came back when I was 14, and then I went to a primarily white Quaker school in the middle of nowhere, Maryland. So it wasn't until recently that I realized that I could define for myself what Blackness was. I felt like, at first Blackness was like, oh, you're up to date on the lingo. Like people would talk to me when I would come back in the summers, and I would have no idea what they were saying to me. I had no idea.
That's funky, fresh, and dope.
Right.
Ready to party.
And so I felt like that just took away from my Blackness, because like it would get to this point where like all my Black peers would kind of look at me and be like, what's wrong with you? Or they'll say things like, you sound white. So I feel like I was like, okay, this Black thing ain't really working out. People already think they know I'm going to present a certain way just because I look a certain way. And then when I go to the people that I look like, they're looking at me saying, why you don't present the way you're supposed to present. So I ran towards gayness, but because I didn't see I saw a lot of queer people. I just never saw anyone say it and stand in their truth. It's just like,
that's a true statement too.
Oh, she tall and she real good at basketball. Like that's it. That's where the conversation stops.
I'm weak. Not tall and good at basketball. I'm sick.
So I started in an effort to kind of, because I couldn't say it, I didn't feel like I could say it, I started taking on like a more masculine presentation. I'm like, I'm gonna show it to y'all. I'm gonna just be it. I'm like, but now I'm realizing, okay, maybe I don't need to do that. Now that I'm embracing my Blackness as it is, then that's giving me some type of leeway to also just embrace all of me, and that gay doesn't have to look just one way and Black doesn't have to look just one way. So that has kind of been the impact for me, that I've really just got to define things for myself. I can't be listening to all these people out here, and I got to really go within. So I really appreciate the one talking about independence, because it's not only just financial independence, it's like independence of thought. It's you tapping into your intuition. It's you feeling what you feel and looking in the mirror and saying, this is who I am, and accepting that.
And it's funny, y'all say survival. I mean, y'all say independence, but my mind here is survival. Like in my mind, I come from a survival instinct that I need to do all these things independently. I like, my approach to it was never to like, oh, like, let's figure out who I am. It was, if I don't do this, then the only alternative is I'm going to be gone.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. That's real. That's real. I mean, I think they kind of go hand in hand. Survival and independence. I mean, we've had to survive independently of a lot of things. We've had to survive independently of like the real food. We're talking Black and gay we look at slavery, and they were devoid or cut off from the real food. And so with that, they survived and became independent on the scraps. You have your collard greens and your neck bones and all that stuff. That was survival.
Who cooking? It's JUNETEENth.
It made it dope.
It made it dope. Those things go hand in hand. They
throw
walk
some seasoning in this.
Period.
Right.
A couple of
Let it
spice,
marinate for a couple of hours.
Fall off the bone.
So it tastes
That's what makes me think, like, how much of our creativity being Black stems from all of that. All of that, like, our creativity was our therapy. It was literally how we figured a way to keep going.
Going, literally.
That's an interesting anthropological statement that you just made.
You just said a big ass word thing. I don't know what it means, but I feel smart.
She did. She did it. But when you think about the cultures of societies, when you think about traditional African culture, not modern day, but traditional African cultures, they're steeped in tradition. So there wasn't the need or the the pressing need for creativity and innovation, because it was really about honoring ancestors and doing things, repeating, you know, like oral traditions and repeating the same stories, etc. Whereas here, all of those things were stripped from us. So we had to create an identity and create things for ourselves in the absence and devoid of it because they were stripped away.
Have you watched High on the Hog on Netflix?
I saw one episode.
It
was so good. I had a couple tears. I was
right?
Like, wow.
High on the Hog?
Yeah, it's about
High on the Hog. Yeah,
cooking, how cooking came to be, and they start in Africa and show you this is where this actually came from. Like okra, I had no idea okra was African.
Yeah,
and I love okra. I was like, wow.
Right.
I mean, so many things, rice, and I mean, you know, you think rice and you think Asia. I don't know. I don't know what you were going to say about it, but I agree.
No, it's just along with what Dawon was just saying. It's just like, in a weird way, though, it's just like some of the craftiness did actually kind of come from Africa, because it's just like, okay, we knew how to utilize the whole animal. So you gonna give us scraps? Well, guess what, bitch? We already been done that. Right. Okay, and this shit gonna taste extra good. It's just like, yes, we prefer the other parts, but guess what? Joke's on your ass. And guess what? We're gonna influence all of the culinary of the world because we're so dope, you know?
Right.
And so that just that High in the Hog, if you haven't watched it, whoever's listening, I highly recommend it, because it puts a lot of things in perspective, again, of how we're just so good. Unfortunately at surviving.
Yeah.
I just have this mental picture of like, oh, you just gonna give me the oxtail? You don't know what we can do with this oxtail. You don't even know.
They was out there. They was like, oh shit, they got the oxtail. They got the
oxtail. It's all the dances.
They was extra happy that day. Oh shit, you give us the oxtails.
You finna get me? Hook it up. Hook it up.
They was out
That's
there
hilarious. That's hilarious. Wow. Okay, so I think that is kind of bringing us to our cope then. This is where we talk about how we're coping with all of this understanding that we have about ourselves, about our blackness, our gayness. And I think for me, I have to acknowledge the hurt that is still attached to my queer identity. And sitting with the understanding that it is a blessing to be both. You know, pride is being Black, or pride in being Black kind of came easy to me, rather. And I feel like pride in being Black was not pushed, but reiterated throughout my life. You know, I feel like because your family already knows what's going to happen in the world to you, they instill so much joy and pride and love. You know, if you came from the kind of family that I came from, which I feel like most people kind of come, at least have that, you know, where they're like, okay, well, this is your blackness, and you know, whatever, building you up in that way. And I think my queerness was not given that. And so I cope by giving myself that as a queer person, by building myself up and saying, we also are resilient as queer people, because they tried to kill a bunch of us, you know, and we still are here, and we still are queer. No, I'm just kidding. But no, like I cope by recognizing that I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of hurt to heal when it comes to the queer community. And I have to find my people in this community, which is more Black queer, so that we can build each other up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's kind of how I'm coping. And it's grace, again, because that's what we really talk about a lot of this podcast, is really just having grace and gratitude with ourselves. So I am grateful that I was allowed the opportunity to be both Black and queer. And I'm giving myself grace while I heal from some of the hurt that being both, honestly, have afforded me. So that is how I'm coping, and I will open the floor for everybody else.
Yeah, for me, I'll say I'm coping with, for me, I think, especially right now in the times, I'm coping with living in my Blackness to the fullest. Whatever it may be like today, whatever that may look like tomorrow or a month from today, just living in it. Because I've gotten to a point in a space in my life right now where I'm not so as much focused on the queer side of myself, just because I just don't see I don't see the queer side of me in a lot of the spaces that exist now.
Okay.
So if I'm thinking about the queer space or the queer side of me, I'm thinking about moments like this where I'm around other queer melanin people, or the fact that, like, you know, my 10-year plan is to have my own bar restaurant that is a queer, Black owned space for queer Black people, you know, and other POC people, you know, and it's not for everyone else, it's for us, you know, to have our own space within the queer community. Because I'm to a point where I'm tired of trying to find myself in the queer community because they ain't checking for it, you know. And it's a battle that only can be won by embracing my Blackness, because we need to let them know about the racism that still exists today. So until we solve just the racism as a whole in this country, they're not going to see us as Black queer people, because they still don't see the Black part. So
that part.
In order to be seen in the queer space, I need to make sure that my Blackness is seen first. And that's how I'm coping right now, by embracing that. Because the real reality of the fact is, most of the spaces that I operate in my life are not spaces where we are the majority. And so for most of my day-to-day is Black presenting.
Okay. I love that. And I actually am working on not code switching as much. I'm really trying to sit in. This is how I talk. This is what I want to say. I want to be country. I'm from Georgia. I want to say, I ain't shouting. I'm just playing. I don't want to say that all the time, but you know what I'm saying.
You know, I mean, when it calls for it, though.
Period. Like, shit. You know, so I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. Yeah.
Mine is, and I'll go quickly because I know I talked a lot. Mine is really about community. That's how I'm coping. And it's about participating in and inviting community, specifically continuing to build out my network of other Black queer individuals, specifically like targeting like this. Like, I can't tell you how much I have thoroughly enjoyed the relationships that we have built literally over the last couple of months, just getting up to this point of like, hey, you know, I listen to your podcast and I think it'd be really good to come on ours and maybe we can do some kind of like collab.
Right.
But it's coming from like a genuine place, because for me, it's about that community. And so that's how I'm dealing with and coping with it. It's like, how do I use whatever privilege I have and whatever vision I have for myself to invite other people to the table and double click in on supporting our community in whatever way that feels natural for me. And people do it differently, but you know, this is how I'm coping.
I love that.
Minority Report came from coping, quite frankly. That's my coping. It's literally finally, even if Dawon and Jerrel weren't there, I was going to have to do something to finally present the way I wanted to present and be the way I wanted to be. Like, instead of being siloed, like with my gay Black friends, and then one way this, nope, you about to finally see, because I felt like I spent so long not being comfortable with myself because it was going to make everyone else uncomfortable. And you just get to a point where you're like, I'm fucking tired of it. I really am. So I'm going to have an avenue where it shows whether I'm just silly and goofy today, serious tomorrow, talking about Black Lives Matter today, talking about Beyonce tomorrow, whatever it is, because I want to just be. And so seriously, that's where Minority Report came from. Solely that. Selfishly is what it is. But it's finally allowed me to have a reach. Forget people that like even just listen in, like in my own personal space, for them to see a fuller realization of Kerel. Black, the Black, the white, the gay, the straight, everything that has been in my journey up to this point, they are now literally hearing and being able to be like, oh man, I've known Kerel since kindergarten. I didn't know that part of him. Oh, I know Kerel since college. I didn't know that aspect of what he had to go through. And you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it.
And he shares a lot.
I share a lot because I wasn't able to share anything. I didn't have this is actually going to be a question I was going to bring up on our next episode, but it's just like, even like the first guy I kissed, the first guy I hooked up with, I had no one to go kiki and be like, oh, guess what happened last night? I had to internalize all of this stuff because I had no one.
whether it be in the gay community, the Black community, whatever, I didn't have a community.
Yeah.
Period. So my coping today is Minority Report, because it is so needed. And if someone is out there seeing the three of us, let alone the five of us on the last episode, let alone other episodes we've had of Black queer people, and it makes them feel a little seen or a little heard or a little something, what I had to go through, what Dawon had to go through, what Jerrel had to go through is worth it. It sucked at times. It doesn't mean there's still not collateral damage that I'm dealing with and trauma that I'm probably going to deal with the rest of my life and have to unpack and all this stuff. But finally, last 2+ years, it has allowed me to just fully be. And it has been awesome. So that's my cope. Minority Report came out of it.
I love that. I love that.
That's so amazing. I'm taking notes, by the way. I'm taking notes that the intentional like tapping of Black, gay, Black queer people and building that community, just embracing your Blackness, like just saying, you know what, I'm going to just lean fully into it. And just that representation, just saying like, hey, I'm here. If anything, if there's anything I do, I'm here. Like, I love that. I just love hearing that. Like, I'm gonna add that to my coat. Because my coat is kind of similar. Like, I intend to cope by embracing the privilege of being a part of the Black community and all the positive things we mentioned throughout this episode, like our style, our resilience, the creativity, the love. Like, we just really just want to be left alone and just want to love people and create. And that's it. That's it. That's it. We don't want to, we don't want to, like, we don't want slavery. Like, we don't, that's not how we roll. We don't want to get back at you. We just want you to just say you did it, accept it for you, accept it for you, so you can leave us alone and go build your own identity that's not propped on our backs. So
that's a word.
Ooh.
That's a word.
Hey.
He said he out. That's it. That's done. That's a wrap.
That was the benediction right there.
So yeah, I cope. I continue to cope by healing from being a part of both communities, by being aware of the injustices of being a part of both communities, and then defining for myself what it means to be a part of these communities and living life by my own accord. You know, I want to be that representation of, it doesn't have to always look the way people are telling you it should look. You know, I want to focus on thriving as an individual and then embracing the spectrum. And you can be on any part of the spectrum at any time. And that is okay. It is okay. Just live your life. That's really how I'm trying to cope. And I want to reflect that out so others can see it. Because I feel like all of our issues stem from people just not living their lives, not living in their truth. White people, gay white people, you know, it's just tell the truth. Just tell the truth. Just tell the truth.
That is lovely. Okay. This episode went very quickly. We are now to the recap part. And essentially, we all have found various ways to sit with our identity. Some of us ran from both Black and gay. Some of us ran from Black toward gay. Some of us have intermingled and intertwined the Black and the gay. And all in all, it's about being a part of the community, figuring it out for yourself, and giving yourself grace to know that wherever you sit in each community is valid. And we are using our voices and our platforms to let the other youth know who looked like us, who felt like us, know that we are here, we are queer, and you can be okay too. You can be successful, you can be happy, you can be healthy, you can be loved, and you too can find your community. So that is the recap. If anybody wants to add anything, y'all go ahead. Feel free.
Pass the collection plates. Come on now.
I'm Black and I'm proud.
Right?
Black, y'all.
Now let me go eat this stage up like Chloe Bailey did.
Oh, did.
Right?
She ate it up. I said, go ahead, mamas. Yeah, I'm down.
Me all the way to Juneteenth. Come on now, Chloe.
Okay, so now we'll just do some shout outs. I just want to shout out to our ancestors that are both Black and queer who made it through so that we could be here. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams. So if you guys have any shout outs, feel free to do that here. Rena, do you have anything?
You guys.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I just want to shout out the people who like have the calling and the spirit to keep going and keep moving the needle, you know, and carrying the torch, because like I've said on the podcast before, like everyone isn't built for the front lines, and you have to be a strong person to really carry that much of a heavy load. You know, and I just want to shout those people out, because, you know, it's people like that, like you said, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. And it's because of those individuals and people who have that ministry in them.
I love that. You're absolutely right.
Piggyback on that real quick, because I'm now sitting here thinking about, I want to shout out all the people that actually fought for Juneteenth to be recognized as a federal holiday. A lot of those, many of those being Black people. Who wanted to be seen and who wanted it to be recognized and honored, not just as something that Black people do, but something that the entire United States, the nation of United States, has recognized formally. Because I do kind of feel like, in so much as that came over, people was like, yeah, that's nice, but you know, we didn't get this, that, and the other. And we kind of do that a lot when we get a little progress. So I just want to shout them out and just say that, you know, that thank you for your hard work and pushing that agenda through and keeping the spirit of Juneteenth alive, because there are a lot of people that kept that tradition alive, even when it wasn't a national holiday. And now that it is, now, you know, that they've been able to see that dream realized. So thank you for all that.
Yes. I love that perspective.
That's come through gratitude. I needed that.
Yes.
You nailed it. That's who I want to thank. Thank your ancestors, to all the people, because there's so many stories we just don't even know of the struggles that people have had out there. There's probably stories that have passed on when people have died that we just don't know. That like you would hear them be like, damn, y'all had to do that. You had to go through that. So thank you. And I want to shout out Beyonce. Hey, girl.
Oh, yes. Hey, Beyonce.
Hey, y'all. Yeah. Okay, can I get one more shout out though, too?
Yes.
And this is the personal, especially after this conversation. I just want to shout out the four of y'all though, too, because, you know, although we're here at, you know, with the podcast and we're, you know, having these topics, like there are moments like this that help me find parts of myself. Like this is something that I know for a fact that I will carry on for the rest of my life, as far as who am I and what do I bring to the table and how do I see others and who they are as well too, because all five of us had a very different perspective, and hearing y'all perspective today helped me understand and be able to see other people who aren't like me that are Black and queer as well too. So this moment right here is something that really teaches our community.
I love that. That was so beautiful. Thank you for that.
I almost want to cry because I'm like, that's exactly it. That's it. That's it. I love that.
Rena, did you have a shout out, or did you already shout out? Am I missing somebody?
I mean, you are missing me. I don't have a shout out, but I agree with all your shout outs.
Ditto the shout outs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that brings us to my favorite part. It's the meditation. What we do is we take a couple deep breaths, we set an intention for ourselves, we take another couple breaths, and then we let you go about your day. So what I want you guys to do is take a big deep breath with me. We'll take a second deep breath. And we'll take one more deep breath. And now we will set our intention. I intend to continue to sit in myself, both Black and gay and whatever else wants to present itself, to love myself through it all.
I'll go next.
Okay.
It is my intention to continue to embrace myself as I am, where I am, and to do so with the hopes of being who I desire to be.
I love that.
I intend to continue to be a voice for the voiceless, for those who find themselves, bits and pieces of them inside of me, and help themselves be heard and seen through me.
I love that.
I intend to commit myself to growth.
That is beautiful.
I intend to give myself the same amount of grace that I give others. I think that's what I learned from earlier in this episode.
Okay, a word. All right. That was beautiful. So we'll take our last set of breaths. Take another big deep breath with me. We'll take a second deep breath. And we'll take our last deep breath. All right. Our intentions have been set for the day. Go out there and flourish, sis. Today doesn't have to be a mess.
But it's okay if it is.
So Liz, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in again. This has been such a pleasure. We finally had a guest episode and I am like,
thanks
so
for having
excited.
us.
Yes. If y'all enjoyed this combo, and I know y'all did, then you are in for a treat. If you head over to Minority Report and listen to all of their episodes, because they are a blast. We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and like just vibing with us, coming in and letting us dick you down a little bit.
On the Saturday.
We'll never say no to that.
Right. Especially on the
Never say no to
weekend.
that.
Right.
I
Stick
want
it
to
down
open
on
the
the weekend.
Okay.
Right, the husbands won't get mad at that dick down.
Oh,
So.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
This is a safe dicking.
It's a safe dicking, I do want to open the floor for you guys to let everybody know where they can follow you, everything about yourselves. Like when are you out? How or when can they listen? Where can they listen? All that jazz.
Our new episodes every Monday. Wherever you listen to podcasts, follow us, subscribe, leave us a review, please. That helps us out a lot. Also on YouTube, every episode is on YouTube, so you can kind of see our facial expressions when we're wearing wigs and things like that. On social, Minority Report on IG, TikTok, Facebook. Twitter is MTEA Report. But we're mostly on IG. That's probably the big one. You can find everything on there. So
yes, I love that. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Rena?
No, I just really enjoyed all of you. Like this was so much fun. And I feel like y'all have like really planted a seed. I'm like, we need to have more guests. I want to be on your podcast again. Like I really enjoyed this experience. I really did. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you guys for intentionally seeking us out and to do this collaboration. I just the intention in it. I feel it. I feel that community, that representation that you're seeking, and that embracing, that voice, that visual you're aiming to give. And I'm so in support of it.
Yeah. We really enjoyed this. And I think that's going to be all for this episode. Thank y'all for following us all the way through. Until next time, we're going to catch y'all on the flip side. Peace.
It's a mess.
Hey, that's why I can't sing.
It's okay. He's gonna talk over my singing though. Okay, it's ready now.